This video is about support resistance, and one thing I want to consider is just to simplify your trading. Resistance is at the top, and that's where the market comes up and has a hard time breaking through that price and reverses. Support is on the bottom, where the market comes down really quickly, has a hard time breaking through it, and reverses. So with support resistance, it's an area where the market either bounces off of or breaks through. If you look at historically, that this was support here, and so when price broke through it, came up, became resistance and resistance. So if current price actually breaks through here, we may see that this resistance becoming as support. So it breaks through, comes back and retests, and pushes back towards the resistance up here. Same thing on the bottom here, we see it is support, so if the market decides to come down, bouncing off this price, but if it decides to break through, then we can look at historically where it's been to look for previous support. So again, support resistance is an idea where the market is going to make a decision at. Right now we can see it's coming up here, so there's a deciding factor in this general area. Let me actually show you that it's not the exact price, it's just the general area. You can see there's your body and your wicking area right here. And then here you can see in this general area it started struggling. Let me kind of give you a better point of view of this. The better way to approach it is you want to keep it simple. You don't want to have this kind of way of looking at it. There's resistance here, support. If you consider every peak and value, it's going to be very difficult, as you can see, to know where the market's going to go. You know, as far as looking at this area, it may reverse here, but very temporarily. It's better to actually look at in a very simple format where you look at the major levels, because you can get really tedious with these lines. So again, how to identify that is look at where the market came to that price and look at history on how it's reacted before. Wherever price has been at, that's what you want to consider. Okay, so you can see it's a lot cleaner, easier to see where price is going. So here we can see that it may shuffle a little bit here, but we may look for it to trade back up to resistance. Once it gets here, then we can look at the trading opportunity to trade back down to support. If it breaks through this price, then we will look for opportunities to trade back up to this price. Let's look at a different time frame. Let's look at the day chart. As you can see, the day chart will actually include a lot more data, and also considerably, if you look at price that we've actually, or the lines that we've drawn, in comparison of the day chart, they're very minor, except the one on the top. You can see that price has dinged off this price with the wicks, and before we were only looking at this point of view here. So the best way to look at, if you're a beginner trader, is to stick with that one time frame so it makes a lot of sense and you don't confuse yourself, and just use that methodology to trade off of. Is look for reversals or breakout trades. If you look at the bigger time frames, the concept works exactly the same way, but also these opportunities may not arise as often, and the factor is that you if you have a busy schedule, then you don't have to sit there around your charts as often. So let me give you an idea about that as well. You can see that here was resistance here, and so when it broke out, here's your retest and then a continuation, and you can see that these levels work exactly the same. You can see it was resistance, so when it broke out, came back and retested and continue moving upwards. But you're actually in the trade a lot longer, and your trade may take several days or even 2 weeks if you're basing your entry and exit points if you're trading off the day chart. So if you're extremely busy, you may want to consider this, is that you may want to look at the bigger time frames But you have to also consider that your stop losses and take profits are going to be a lot larger. And so you can either consider trading with a smaller lot size. The concept also works on the 5-minute chart. Let me actually show you that. So you can see supports on the bottom, resistance is at the top. Again, when the market approaches a price, there's a deciding point. So in this case scenario, it broke through. So when it broke through, we were looking for either a retest or continue move upwards. So it broke, with resistance here, acted as support. We could enter on the retest, either the engulfing pattern, and trade back up to resistance. So you can see in history, if we pull this back, here was support, became resistance. So in this general area, it's kind of just trying to make a decision. If it breaks through this price, then we can look for an opportunity to trade it back up to the previous support resistance level. If the market decides to break this price on the bottom, if it comes down here, there's going to be a deciding factor here. Either it's going to bounce off, trade back up to resistance. If it breaks this level, then we can look to trade back down to this level here. So let's actually look at a different currency pair so you can see that. So this is the 1 hour time frame on the pound dollar. Here's your support level here. You can see the market came down really quickly, bounced off of it. Same thing on the top, resistance at the top in this general area. So you want to filter out, you don't want to have, 4 or 5, there's about 4 or 5 lines on your chart. You don't want to consider all these teeny levels. It can get very tedious and hard to actually project a trade. So again, you want to consider the more major levels, because if you do, let me actually show you again. If you consider all the peak and valleys, they have a little bit of data to show you where the market may turn around, but as you can see, it can get very cluttery. So the whole point about with support and resistance is you want to keep it simple to have the best trading results. Is you want to look at these major levels. So as you can see, this was support, came up, rushing down towards that price. We actually looked for a bounce trade here. Here's your pattern. We can have a considerably small stop loss in comparison of a big take profit. You may not trade as often, but your trading opportunities are going to have a lot more consistency in your trading. So you can see here your breakout. You can see this market price came up to retest the price right here, and then engulfed and then continue moving downwards. So a very simple way to look at the market is using support resistance and using just the one time frame to help you do market projections, and this will help you build consistency in your trading. Thank you for joining this webinar.